What is going on, everybody? My name is Brian Higgins. I am the AI for Sales guy. And today I want to share with you some of the lessons that we've learned over the course of the past 20 months, almost 2 years, working with AI agents and automations. Now, the process has changed drastically and the agents have gotten so much smarter. In the past, we were using Zapier and Make.com, formerly Integromat, and we were plugging these automations into more of a linear pathway where if this then that, and we were using the language models to be the brains. Now they're more autonomous and there's so much more you can do with it. They've gotten smarter, they're iterative, they can do processing and make sure that the output is the correct output so much further. I'm going to walk you through several projects that we've done with customers and really how you can use AI agents to impact your own business. So for those of you that don't know me, I come from a sales and marketing background, over 25 years in B2B sales and marketing. I have a marketing agency now, an AI agency. And what I've learned is I've always looked at how do we improve, how do we automate, how can we scale? And I used Zapier and Integromat at the time. And these platforms are still feasible and useful, and they've integrated AI. I also use N8N. N8N, what I see is a better platform for building these agents. I started getting into this 24 months ago, really, when OpenAI launched ChatGPT and then Anthropic with Claude. I really adopted these. This is going to change sales. This is going to change marketing. This is going to change business, and it has. And it continues to evolve. I learned APIs. I took the knowledge I had from Make.com and Zapier and started doing API integrations and really took these things to the next level. AI has the ability to do coding without being a coder. I am a sales guy. I learned how to do these things. I like to put things together and figure out how things are put together and pull them apart. We've grown our team. We have engineers. We have other salespeople. But the point is that we've built these for customers, starting with my passion for voice AI agents, email agents, and messaging. So let's jump into those now. So in terms of past projects, so we've done a lot with voice, email, and messaging. Those are the three pillars that we've used. And from a voice perspective, I've used Vocode, Air, Vappy, Bland. Bland is who we doubled down on. Their infrastructure is just second to none with the way that they use conversational pathways and prompting and their response and their support, and they got a great team over there. So we've built a lot on their platform and doubled down with them for our customers. So we've done the inbound receptionist because they're very similar. They're answering phone calls, they're handling after hours, they're scheduling customer appointments, they're checking CRMs and schedules. So we connect these to customers' infrastructure, utilizing APIs to do that. Inbound customer service, we're connecting various databases and past history to support their customers, trained on their knowledge and trained on their business processes. So we take their standard operating procedures, we take their emails, we take past scripts, recordings, and we put this into a database, we connect it, and then the AI agent is able to support those customers as they come in. And what's really powerful about this is that you can utilize your humans to do higher value tasks. So you can free up your customer service time to be able to nurture larger customers and maybe automate some of the smaller ones. General questions that come up repetitively online or over the phone, you can use AI to handle those questions. And then think of tech support, right? You have your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. You could do that very much with customer support and sales, where you have your repetitive, high turnover questions and things that come up for qualification and for support that you can automate with inbound. And then outbound, speed to lead. So statistically, if you reach out to a lead within 5 minutes of their submission, you're going to convert them at a 391%, according to Harvard study that was done many years ago. So when you reach out to them utilizing AI, you're not bottlenecked by can someone take it. I've worked in companies in the past where I had leads that came over from marketing and it was days since the lead was submitted. That's useless. Somebody either forgot, they moved on, they found someone else. So speed to lead is very important. Database reactivation, we've done database reactivations In access, we're reaching out to people via SMS or email or phone, and we're using AI to reference past transactions, past history, when the last time that they worked with them, and have some sort of an offer that we're presenting to them. So that offer could be for a renewal, that could be for a new service, that could be for complementary to their previous service, a service contract. There's so many different ways you can use this. If you have a large database, this is highly recommended. Cold calling is self-explanatory. We're doing outbound agents. We're training them on a script and a process to book appointments or transfer to a live agent. Email agents read the emails that's coming in, categorize it as to what category it goes in, and then whether it needs to be responded to, and then respond to it based on the parameters and the trainings that we give it. So we connect it to what's called a vector database, which I'll talk about on the next slide. But vector database basically gives an easier way for the AI, the language model, to connect and find information. So we store tons of emails and recordings and PDFs and all kinds of documents in the vector database. And then when we turn on an inbound agent for supporting an email, it's going to reference those past emails, those past standard operating procedures, and it's going to respond accordingly. Lead qualifiers and enrichment. So if you have a lead that comes in, it would qualify the lead, ask the questions before booking it on the salesperson's calendar. So it'll enrich and score it and say, does this person meet these criterias? And you can automate people under a certain size and qualify and transfer them and book them onto a salesperson's calendar for someone who's more qualified. Outbound cold email. Mostly this is personalization, and then we're using an inbox manager with it. Target the prospect based on the data we collected. It's going to craft personalized messages, the first couple lines, but we build this into the other agents. So that way they all work cohesively together. So we'll personalize that first line, we'll test different subject lines, and we do the cold outbounds. And we have customers sending hundreds of thousands. But then when they respond, we're using an inbox manager to handle that. One of the problems I've seen, both with ourselves and with the customers, is cold email. You do all this work up front to get these warmed up emails, and you're sending this huge volume going out to find prospects cold. And then when people start responding, they fall through the cracks. So that inbox manager, also connected with a voice AI agent, make sure that no leads slip through the cracks. Consistent follow-up, the AI will actually schedule its own follow-up if no engagement has happened within 5 days based on your CRM. It will automatically follow up, and we give it the guideline and the parameters. But that follow-up is really the magic in sales. And then, of course, with Personal Inbox Manager, we do connect Slack and WhatsApp and Telegram and text messaging. We plug these in to a personal AI agent. And that AI agent, you can connect to email and messaging. And then the messaging AI agents we built, mostly chatbots on the website and LinkedIn Messenger. The LinkedIn Messenger really taken off because the ability to nurture prospects, find those personalized lines like cold email, but also to respond and have conversations with them automatically without a human interaction. WhatsApp Nurture, if you have a phone number on your website, you can use WhatsApp for texting, so that way it integrates into a central inbox if you don't use a CRM that has that. And then, of course, SMS, I mentioned the database reactivation, and Facebook and Instagram, just having that 24/7 response. To bring this closer to home, I want to give you a visual representation of the agent. So when we start this process, we're starting with high quality data, and we're pulling their LinkedIn URL, their email, we're validating that email to make sure it's verified. And then if we're using a call agent, we're going to enrich the data of people that are engaging with us with their mobile numbers and their direct dials. We funnel the LinkedIn profile and some of the website data through researchers. So we build AI agent researchers that are going out and pulling data on the prospect, the company, the industry, and the title of that person. So what's keeping me up at night versus a CFO versus a CTO, they're going to be very different. So we use that to build a strategy and a profile. So you can tell by looking at someone's LinkedIn profile what their DISC assessment would probably be. High dominance, more influential. more analytical. So we would take that data that we get from the types of positions they've had and the training and the education, and we build these profiles. And we store those in the database to reference for the strategy of outreach. Then we take the scripts that we've used in the past, the documented process that we have in the standard operating procedures, and previous examples of emails or recordings, and we put it all into the knowledge base and we build this strategy. So for a CFO, say they opted your list for your product. You would enrich that data, you would build this profile, and then the nurture sequence that you're going to send them for your product is very specific to their position, their company, and the advantages your product has for that person. So it's going to be much more impactful than it would be for a templated onboarding sequence where you're nurturing the same way across every person. Then it goes out to the email agent and the voice agent for calling or emailing or messaging. And then this is an email and messaging agent. So we would have a message that comes in, say via email or Facebook, WhatsApp, your online chat widget, or LinkedIn. It would go in and it would think and review the email. Does this need to be responded? Let's categorize this. Check the knowledge base, all the previous communications and the data. And then it would formulate the response. It would send the response. It would go over the platform it came in, obviously, and it would log the data and schedule the follow-up. And its goal is mission-driven. So an AI agent that is for sales, that's qualifying prospects and nurturing them to get a booked appointment for a salesperson, is going to ask a series of questions and follow a set of instructions that nurtures that person to the appointment and educates them and ultimately gets them on a calendar, if it makes sense to put them on a calendar. And if they haven't responded in 5 days, it's automatically going to follow up. So very effective. This is an overview of a voice AI agent. So obviously when you're having a conversation, you're going to have a voice. So it's going to be male or female. We train it on your various scripts. We give it the prompts and the pathways. And there's a trigger. And the trigger for inbound is an inbound call. For outbound, we typically set it up inside of your CRM. So you would trigger it based on your CRM. Or we would manage a campaign for you where we have a large volume of contacts that we're doing an outbound campaign for. So for the first one, it's easy to understand. You're triggering it based on your CRM, and you're just adding a tag, and it puts it in a workflow to send out that phone call. If we're managing it, we may have your database that we're doing a database reactivation, and we have all the people, and we're calling a certain amount of them each day. Or if we are calling prospects, they're cold, we would find that data, nurture that, research that data, enrich it, and then call those people in bulk. And then during that phone call, we're doing the tools to reach out to API calls, or going out to check schedule availability, check for pricing, give totals, send text messages, and the other tools that are in there. And then, of course, logging the CRM, as I mentioned before. This is an example of a multi-channel campaign. So multi-channel start on LinkedIn, where you're getting the prospect comfortable with you. They see your name a few times, and then you reach out via email. And then based on their actions, if they respond, we could scrape the email and send out that phone call. And if they don't answer, or it's wrong number, it goes down different paths. Here's a representation of how a sales agent works. So the email comes in, the inbox manager sorts it, documents it in your CRM, can notify people, and it can reply right to the email. It'll also send it to the lead qualifier. The lead qualifier will qualify the lead, and if it's qualified, we can connect it with the calendar, notify you, CRM, reply to the email, and book it right on your calendar. And then, as mentioned, the enrichment. So we could scrape their website, scrape their LinkedIn profile, log it in the CRM, and create additional data to help reach out and strategize. All right, so vector database projects that we've done with customers, we're plugging these into the AI language model and to the agent that we're building. But a vector database is where information is stored and retrieved. So the language model is going to use this to get that data faster. So if you attach, for example, a PDF that has 500 pages that you want the AI to reference, you would put it in a vector database. Supabase, Pinecone, we use Supabase, but we do these projects for customers. What we would use it for would be, think of a sales agent or a support agent that is trained on your standard operating procedures. Those SOPs would be loaded into the vector database, and the vector database files them in a numerical form. We would store it in categories. So that way, when it goes to find the answer, it'll find it much faster. So it's milliseconds that it'll find the data and respond back to it. So it's very natural for the AI to have conversations on voice or retrieve it for support. We would store the past emails, the recordings, the PDFs. There's all different multimedia forms that you can put into these vector databases, and it stores them as numbers. Another aspect of it is semantic search. For example, when you're building a search function on a website, you need to come up with all the words that you're trying to use for that one use. So let's say you're serving law enforcement and you have a software used for law enforcement. If you don't also store that as public safety, if someone comes on and searches public safety because they're not using the word law enforcement, they're not going to find their search. All right, so multi-channel outreach, pretty self-explanatory. I talked about some use cases here, but just to paint the picture, if we're doing a cold campaign for a customer, we're going to build this in different ways. The way we typically build it is we get the prospect comfortable and know who that rep is before the rep reaches out. So we would reach out to them on LinkedIn, and we would have a nurture sequence that we've given some structure to, that the AI is having a conversation with the prospect with. They don't always respond, but the point is that we're getting their name in front of the prospect before emailing them in their inbox. Then when we send the email, they're going to have some sort of familiarity with that person, and there's a higher propensity that they're going to respond. And then we would trigger other channels based on their actions. So, for example, if they responded to that email, we could scrape their signature, plug it into the voice AI agent, and make a phone call and say, "Hi, I'm Brian's digital assistant. I just saw that you were reading our email or responded to our email. My job is to set up an appointment so you two can discuss." How are we building these AI agent systems? So from a high level, we're going to use natural language processing. We're going to put a prompt in, and it's going to understand the intent and the context. It's going to use knowledge retrieval. I just talked about the vector databases. That's knowledge retrieval. We're going to give it decision-making capabilities. It can take action without relying on if this, then that. Now, if it's not something within the box that we program it, okay, and it's outside that box, we have Slack or Telegram or SMS or all the above, and say, "Hey, the AI is stuck. Can you see this?" So an example of this is the AI is not able to click a Calendly link and schedule it. It can schedule its calendars that are integrated into it from the sales perspective. But let's say the prospect responded with a Calendly link and says to book. The AI currently can't do that. So we would Slack or message or Telegram, "Hey, you need to take some manual action." And then tools are just like they sound, they're APIs. A good use case of this would be for like an inbound restaurant. If someone's placing an order, the voice AI agent takes their order, and then it sends the order to the system that's going to calculate the totals, check inventory, check timeline completion. Those are external systems. So we call those tools or functions, you'll hear them called. All right, so let's talk about prompting and data. So prompt engineering is an art and a skill, as I mentioned, and this is about giving the instructions to the language model in a way that's going to give you the right output. And this is something that takes practice, it takes time to learn, and it needs to be formatted in proper ways. All right, so curated data sets, what this is very much the vector database, but the curated data set really references the various different kinds of data that we're going to use to train the language model. We get as many emails as we can, scripts, recordings, PDFs, standard operating procedures, and we get a diverse set of data to be able to train the language model. The more data you give it, the better output it's going to get, which takes you to the iterative refinement. So iterative refinement, especially early on, we're checking the scripts, we're fine-tuning it. but it's gotten smarter and better over time. One example that we've used it for is the support agents or the sales agents when they're sending an email. So let's say somebody sends a technical problem. We have it trained on all your technical data, but there was one thing in there that was not there. What would happen is maybe it gave a slightly wrong answer. We would build the agent to process the answer before sending it. And that agent would say, these were the output that it was supposed to give. Here was the output. Is it correct? And if the answer is no, it'll go back through the loop. Okay. With that context of, hey, this was wrong. This was the wrong answer. Check this data, and it'll go back through the loop and then check it again. So that way your accuracy goes significantly up and you have very little to no issues. Hopefully this has been helpful and you see some new ways that you can leverage AI for your sales teams, your marketing teams, your support teams, and help integrate that into your existing processes. We're still very much at an early mover's advantage. So regardless of what industry you're in and where your focus is, AI has not fully integrated into all the businesses. So therefore, leveraging it now will give you a competitive advantage. This is not going away. Just like the .com boom where everyone had to get a website at one point if you wanted to be a business, AI is going to give such a user's advantage that the ones that don't integrate it will go out of business and they'll fall behind. So get ready, plug this in. If you want help, we're happy to do that. I'm going to be making some other videos on specific projects that we've done, but hopefully this gave you a high level and gave you some knowledge. Thank you so much for tuning in.